So the pinnacle of Ray's worldview is the idea meritocracy, which Ray describes as, quote, idea meritocratic decision making is better than traditional autocratic or democratic decision making in almost all cases. So an idea meritocracy is a cultural paradigm. It's a free market for ideas, a way of subjecting ideas to a simulated form of natural selection. It's a kind of Darwinism for ideas, if you will. It is an open environment for the proliferation and combination of the most meritorious ideas, free from man-made impediments such as ego, policy, and hierarchy. So again, team members at Bridgewater review one another's work, meeting contributions, and attitude in real time using a suite of custom-made management tools, which are software-based tools used to gather real-time feedback. And idea meritocracy is intended to be aligned with reason and impervious to politics, is kind of the gist of it. And I think we see this in the world, that the more objectively measurable and traceable the outcome of a job, the less political it is by nature, as competence is the primary determinant of who gets that job. So an example here would be like, consider how professional athletes are paid for points they put on the board or other stats, which are objective metrics, whereas a politician is paid based on his charisma or cunning, which is clearly very subjective. So, jumping back to our original thesis that everything starts out as an idea, since everything we say, do, or make starts out as an idea, the idea meritocracy is a free market. It's the same thing. Markets are necessary to disseminate knowledge because knowledge has a localized dimension to it, meaning every person is most familiar with the prevailing economic circumstances specific to their place in space-time and industry. Free markets are the best assimilators and disseminators of these localized pools of knowledge within an economy. And a free market can be thought of in this sense as a kind of nexus where many minds become one through the mechanism of price. In this sense, free market capitalism is directed by the collective decisions of all economic actors, whereas centrally planned socialism is directed by the decisions of a handful of bureaucrats. Why, in light of the overwhelming evidence favoring a free market economic system, do we still tolerate central planning in the largest market of all, the market for money? So, to understand the differences in free and unfree markets, a set of formulas will help us go a little further. And Ray gives us the following formula for the idea meritocracy, which equals radical truth plus radical transparency plus believability weighted decision making. So I say free markets equal truthful price signals plus transparent and reliable rule of law, private property rights, plus skin in the game weighted decision making. So with these formulas in mind, let's dive into each of their elements and consider their relationships with markets, money, and Bitcoin. The first formulaic element of Ray's idea meritocracy is the principle of radical truth, which Ray describes as, quote, truth, or more precisely, an accurate understanding of reality, is the essential foundation for any good outcome. So this is the idea that gaining a clear perception of reality is paramount to facing it head on and dealing with it. So in markets, it's commonly said that price is truth, meaning that all known market realities are expressed in any particular asset's price at any given moment. You may remember from Economics 101 that the market price is the intersection of supply, which is an objective quality, and demand, which is an intersubjective or opinion-based quality. So put another way, prices are like data packets that convey information about scarcity, which is objective, and value, which is intersubjective. Each entrepreneur's decision to buy or sell is influenced by prevailing prices, and in turn communicates back into the market the state of economic conditions relevant to him, which again, in turn, influences the same decision-making of all other entrepreneurs within his market. This is intersubjective value. And all of those decisions are based on actual availability of time, resources, and know-how. This is objective scarcity. Getting back to price signals, price basically representing truth in the marketplace, central banks broke the truthfulness of money by centralizing gold and issuing depository receipts, which are basically dollars that were redeemable for gold, in excess of their gold reserves. So if they had 10 tons of gold, they issued 100 tons worth of dollars redeemable for gold. So they're just making promises in excess of what they had. So when central banks did this, they severed the skin in the game of money and gave central banks a mechanism for perpetually privatizing profits from money production, which is called seigniorage, and socializing government losses through inflation. So skin in the game, it's a really important concept from my favorite author, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. And that guy's if you haven't read his books, he's unbelievable. Read them all twice. I draw on his wisdom a lot in my thinking and my writing. But so skin in the game is a concept based on symmetry. It's a balance of incentives and disincentives that is necessary for most systems to function properly. So with central banking, it has essentially no disincentives in the fiat currency system. As there is a near zero cost of money production, central bankers are incentivized to print money into worthlessness, acquiring scarce assets with these self-annihilating currencies on their gradual, then sudden way to zero. As a wise man once said, inflation is the surest way to fertilize the rich man's field with the sweat of the poor man's brow. So inflation of the money supply, and this is very important for capitalism, it's a violation of private property rights, as it reallocates wealth away from its original owners, who are the citizens, into the hands of those closest to the governors of the monetary system, who are typically the politically favored few. Inflation also distorts the price signals propagated by fiat currency, which causes entrepreneurs to overborrow, misallocate capital, and misprice risk. And this is very pathological to an economy, really. And so if you think of inflation, it's kind of like, it's like a computer virus almost that corrupts these data packets on value and scarcity that we call price signals. And for the same economic principles and reasons that price fixing led to the starvation of millions in Soviet Russia, fixing the price of money, which is the interest rate, causes these recurrent economic calamities, what we today call the business cycle. And we think, again, is normal, but it's not. It's a consequence of centrally planned money. So as with all well-functioning markets, the price of money must emerge through and constantly reorient itself against the natural interactions of supply and demand. Attempts to centrally plan this market only distort truth in the form of distorted price signals and trigger overborrowing, recessions, and cause the boom and bust business cycle. So another way to look at fiat currency price signal distortion is with Wittgenstein's ruler. And this is another thing I got from Taleb. But this is really interesting to think about. Unless you have confidence in a ruler's reliability, if you use a ruler to measure a table, you may also be using the table to measure the ruler. The less you trust the ruler's reliability, the more information you are getting about the ruler and less about the table, right? So back to Bitcoin, with an absolutely fixed supply, Bitcoin will restore the clarity of these economic price signals that are so critical to proper capital allocation, risk assessment, and entrepreneurial coordination across space-time. So kind of simply, free market money, like gold, was a universal system of measurement. Other universal units of measurement, like seconds, meters, or kilograms, they're all immutable in value to maximize the coordination of human action. Upon these foundations of standardized measurement, the machinery of global commerce is constructed. Builders of skyscrapers, electronics, and all other goods rely on the constancy of these measurement units when sourcing materials and coordinating labor efforts from around the world. The immutable money supply of Bitcoin means that once it is used widely enough to function as a unit of account, that its price signals will carry more truth than any other money in history. Bitcoin is a monetary channel free from the noise of unexpected supply fluctuations, which necessarily means it carries the clearest signals. In this way, Bitcoin is the perfect conveyor of the data packets on value and scarcity known as price signals. So I like to say, the analogy I share is, I say money is like economic water. And when it comes to price signals, fiat currency is inscrutably murky. It's got lots of noise. You can't tell whether a price change is real or it's inflation driven, right? Bitcoin is the opposite. It is crystal clear. It is pure signal and has absolutely zero unexpected inflation forever. So an economy run on a Bitcoin standard would have fewer and less extreme booms and busts.